but what started it for you where you noticed, hey, something isn't right?
Well, okay, so it goes back to pretty much freshman year, and
What year was that?
that would have been, what, 2012?
10, 11? 12?
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been 2012. So yeah, it all started, in 2012. Growing up, I was pretty much, just a good kid. Just, was following all the rules and stuff.
Right.
Grew up in the church and just, believed in that. But I was more blindly following it. Then I was, I
What
went
do you
to,
mean blindly following?
I don't really think I was believing.
Right.
I was just, I was being kind of just forced into it by my parents because it was just what they did, and a lot of kids
Right.
just follow their
what a lot of
parents.
people do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to I'm not trying to push any perspective on anybody. This is from what I believe and
Right.
from my experiences that I've gone through. After a while, after going to a Christian school and being involved in the church and stuff, a lot of it just started to confuse me when I looked at my own life and when I looked at, the environment that I was in. I didn't
Right.
really grow up in the best of environments, and that had a lot of impact negatively on my faith and on my perspective of life and just my
Right.
outlook. And and so I thought, watching movies and stuff, and seeing just how much certain things are pushed in the world, I was like, well, let's try this. Let's try some weed.
Right. Right.
It would be awesome to try. It looks fun. They make
Right.
it look really fun.
And it'll help.
And
I mean,
it'll
it's
help.
what your thought is at first.
Yeah,
You know?
and which at the beginning it did, because I had a lot of built up anger towards just my childhood and the way it was for me.
Right. Right.
And so I basically just went to weed, and I just didn't stop ever. And I wasn't realizing that I was just suppressing all my negative emotions and not dealing with them up front and trying to think things through.
Right.
And so, I was just one of those guys that a lot of people are, they just, they smoke too much.
Right. Right.
And they just get lost.
Like becomes habit forming.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like my brain might have, gotten tricked into thinking that it needed it.
Right. Right.
And I still feel that way. I still want to smoke, but I know that it's not for me anymore.
Right. And I think the biggest thing, especially when I was going through it, is like when you're at such a low point in your life, you do not give a about anything or about any rules of what goes and what doesn't. As in, if you need weed to help you get through the day, you're gonna do it.
Exactly.
And especially if you haven't done it yet, and you're like, if I keep hearing about it and I hear all these stories of people saying that they get benefits from it,
Right.
why not try it? What's the worst that can happen? Well, you try it, and then if it's slowly, anything can become a pattern or a habit. And unfortunately for me, and like you just said, it became a habit for a while where you're doing it just to do it without even thinking, okay, do I need it or am I just doing it to do it?
That's just the way it is,
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone. I know a lot of people have, they've gotten a lot of benefit from it, and they continue to. And so, that's cool and everything, to each their own. But for me, I realized that I was neglecting all my responsibilities.
Right.
And so, and that continued throughout high school. And so it, as messed up as it is, it caused me to drink more and smoke more.
Right, exactly.
And then,
It's a hard spiral to get out of, man.
yeah, and it's, a lot of people, I don't think seem to realize that they're just stuck in a loop.
Right.
And,
So,
it's a hard loop to get out of, because again, your brain just gets used to it. Your brain is
Right.
calling for it, basically.
Right.
It's
But,
just-
but now the good part, which you haven't explained yet, you realize you were in that loop,
Yeah.
and you're like, dude, I need to get out.
Yeah.
So, what are you going through now that is starting your process to living a great life? Okay? No, just like from going to the doctors and
So-
starting that.
Yeah, going to the doctors was a really big help. Just being honest with the doctor, and that was hard because for a while I just didn't trust doctors at all.
Right.
But through just being honest about them, talking with them, I was able to make a few breakthroughs in order to get the help that I needed. Get my brain all.
How did you find the doctor that you're going to?
Well, he was just my doctor in our.
Oh, you're
yeah.
okay.
Just my regular doctor.
Regular doctor.
And so, he helped me a lot with the alcohol withdrawals. Prescribed me with some stuff, but
Right.
yeah.
And from now that you're on a medication to help with
Yeah.
with that, do you notice a difference from before you started till now? And what is that difference?
I don't feel that anxious.
Yeah.
I, like I said, for pretty much my entire life, it has dwelled in agony, and which is not healthy
That's
at
what it
all.
feels like. Basically, like the process you're in now, what would you say to someone who is feeling the exact same way you have been the last 2 years?
Continue.
No.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I would just say, really look inside.
And what do you mean by look inside?
Just try to, put your ego aside for a second, put your pride aside. I know a lot of people go through really, hard times, and it's easy to just, think your problems are the worst. And I'm certainly guilty of that, and I'm not proud of it at all. But what I would say is, instead of self-medicating, because it helps for a while, but when you go too far with it,
Right.
it just ends up not being a good thing, and your brain is just all off, and you can't think straight.
Right.
Which, yeah, for a while there, I was just a zombie. I was just kind of, sitting at home watching videos, looking into just like a lot of
Scarier things.
in the world. There's
Right.
there's a lot of stuff out there that's not good, and I dwelled on that too, and it made me just I don't know, there's a lot of evil in this world that
Yeah. And when you dwell on it, especially you can, especially if you're someone with anxiety or depression, there's something called being hypersensitive.
Yes.
And it's being hypersensitive to
Yes.
other people's emotions and attitudes. So if you're around a bunch of negative people,
Then you're gonna feel
you can feel negative, but times 10 because of your
Your
triggered
own, yeah.
anxiety and depression, and then that's going to lead to those automatic negative thoughts of the I'm not good enough, I'm the da 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 da.
exactly. And
So it's a spiral.
Yeah, and another issue for me was that I just isolated myself in my room. I didn't really go anywhere, and so it really was just me in my own little world. And because of dwelling on all the negativity in my own life and in the world, I just became a toxic person, I think, which is not something I was going for.
Right.
It just
happened.
became who I was, which is not who I am at all.
Exactly.
That's not me. It's the addict.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And so I really just want to try to work through my addictions and hopefully.
I think that's a good thing that you said right there was when I was in my lowest point, I felt the same way, but I knew it wasn't me. It was
Exactly.
It was the anxiety, it was the depression that was talking for me, and it's hard to tell yourself that, hey, this isn't me, this is just what I'm going through.
Exactly.
And it'll pass.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that would be the message for today is it'll pass.
It will.
You know?
Yeah, no, it definitely will.
It will pass. It's not over yet. And I just don't give up, man. There's
Oh,
hope.
yeah, no, you
There's
can't.
hope.
You know, and I almost did a few times. Well, I mean, I basically did for years, but giving up hope is a whole nother. It's
Right.
another level.
Right.
And it just, you know, puts you in this frame of mind that you know there is no hope. You can't get out, and that's when you know things get worse, and you start thinking about just you not being here. You think about just what if I'm better off dead,
Yeah.
and that's not a
That
fun
definitely.
feeling.
I know.
It's just and it really puts you in a really dark place. But I also realized that I'd walked away from my church and walked away from the religion.
Right.
Well, walked away from God basically.
Right.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like I said, there was the environmental factor, questioning how could God allow that to happen, what loving God would put me in this position. But then I realized that I had never really put my faith in Him. I had not really trusted Him and not taken that leap of faith. I was still living for myself and my own needs.
Dude, that's a really good point, man. I think that's so hard to. It's easy to put your faith in Him when everything is going perfect in your life and things are not going wrong. It's when things are going bad that you have to say, all right, I don't know what you're doing up there, but I trust you enough that it's going to come out all right in the end. You
Exactly.
know? And it will. It definitely will.
And it's a
For
process.
me, it's happening to you right now in the very moment, and it's going to happen for a lot of you watching this. It's not over yet, and there is hope.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good message to end on, unless you have anything else you want to say.
No, yeah, just reach out.
Reach out.
You got to reach out. I know it's easy to just you don't want to be a burden on others, which I'm that's going to come off as hypocritical for me because the way I've been acting, I feel like a burden to a whole lot of people. I feel like through my anxiety and my depression and my anger and projecting it out into the world like that, like I have, I've also might have brought other people down.
Right.
And that's something that's not easy to live with. And so,
And we all make mistakes.
yeah, no, we all do.
But I did the exact same thing, man. When I was going through it, I've lost so many friends. And like I've lost so many friends because of stupid reasons that are just this reason, that reason, and all of it came back to me trying to deal with my own problems and issues, But it shows you who your true friends are in the very end of it. Because when you get out of it, you're like, all right, who's still stuck around versus who's not here anymore. So, but yeah, definitely reach out. That's huge. If you don't reach out, you're not letting anyone in to help you.
Exactly.
Or
no,
giving
it's-
yourself a chance.
Yeah, you got to give yourself a chance. You have to. You have to realize that you have a lot more worth than you think you do. I know it's easy to convince yourself that you're nothing. I've been there. I'm still there a little bit, but you got to push through. Seek help. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that want to help you, that are willing to help you, and they want to see you grow. And so that's
Definitely.
yeah.